history's taught us that really, I think that as a bookmaker, look, when you think about your diet to stay healthy, live longer, be healthy, you eat fruit, veg, fish, meat. All week, I try to make sure, my PAs make sure that I have a completely varied diet of different people to talk to. I want to talk to old, young, wealthy, gone skint, professional gambler, bookmaker, black, white, whatever. I want every different demographic because I want to hear about their truth, their edge. I think that so often people in the game disagree, but really, they didn't really disagree because they both reached, no, I make this 6-4. Well, how did they do that? Were they a paddock judge? Was it on ratings? Was it on information? Da-de-da-de-da. But I want to know, what is their edge? How are they seeing it? Because I think that when you think about the giants who faded and merged and all the rest of it, maybe they thought they'd won and they didn't need to stay on their toes. I think that unless you stay on your toes at some point as a punter or a bookmaker, the wave will come over you, and the next generation of cleverer punters and bookmakers will they've taken your edge. I mean, look at poker. When you think about the poker royalty, who when poker was at its strongest, these guys are in their mid-40s, they're in their 50s. None of these guys are playing now. Not the proper games, yeah? It's the younger people. Really, how many professional gamblers and successful operating bookmakers are there in their 70s? Fred Doan, but there's not many others. I think that the game shuns youth because we all say that the true test is time. But really, I think that it's very, very important to think when you're a bookmaker about succession plans. Because I think that now I'm a judge of judges at 42, but in a decade, will I be too rusty? But I'm working now on having, the next management team. I'm looking at the younger people in the business. I'm making sure that they're connecting, they're understanding each other's roles, because I'm hoping in a decade they'll take over.
Okay, one of the things that and people do quite often sort of come up and say how much they enjoy the series. One of the things that comes up an awful lot is, why on earth does Ben pay to have professional gamblers in these videos explaining how to beat a bookmaker, and Ben is a bookmaker? Why, people say, why does he do that?
I think that essentially nobody, punter or bookmaker, is bigger than the market, and nobody is more important than access and the continuation and welcoming people to the game. I believe that, look, you can only rip someone off once. It's all very well. Look, I've got no doubt that, Ariana Grande twerking is going to get 10 million views on YouTube rather than you interviewing a professional cricket punter. But I think that you need to let people realise, look, it is possible to become very wealthy from this. Yeah, this person, when they're talking about cricket, they don't really know much more about the sport of cricket than me, but they transfer that knowledge to value, and that's a very, very different thing from knowing a lot about a sport. And maybe also, if I was being cynical, I might say that a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And I think that as a bookmaker, I've learned that a punter who loses 3% is much, much more valuable to me than a punter who loses 9%, because the 3% punter, you can always see the hair. He has winning runs. 9% punter, he knows to play small, he knows he's got no chance. High rollers, they must see the hair. They must be regularly winning. They must be regularly drawing, or they give up. No one wants to be having 50, 100, 200 grand on things if they never win. When I go to Romford Dogs, I don't know anything. I'm clueless. I do 20 quid a race because I know I'm clueless. If I thought I had a chance, I might bet bigger. Do you know what I mean? So, bit of education, you know, and it's again, you can't have what you want. You have to have what's available. Star Sports work to a lower margin, but we have huge turnover. So, you know, I mean, the massive bookmakers, they wouldn't, you know, we work to sort of 7 or 8%. They're not going to work to that. But we work well to that on a huge turnover. So it's horses for courses.
Okay, and finally, we've done over 200. How many more are we going to get in there, do you think?
Well, you and I have said this to each other many times, but I think by definition, there's always somebody else finding an edge. There's always a new country where somebody wants to be a bookmaker. There's always a new professional gambler that everybody's talking about. Look, I think that we've had a lot of the low-hanging fruit. We've learned, when you look at the view numbers, we've learned really that the videos that get the views are the ones about an edge. Sometimes you and I have been very excited that there's somebody right at the top of the hierarchy of the betting world, you know, in terms of prestige or their power, so to speak, and nobody really watches it. But then you'll do somebody who's got a drone looking over Catterick and hasn't left their bedroom for 5 years, and that gets 10,000 views because people are like, bloody hell, how's he found a move? Do you know what I mean? So I think we know that really punters aren't interested in celebrities and rule makers. They want to know about how to find an edge. But that will never end. The game will never stop moving forward. When people say the game is gone, the game is never gone. The game is only ever growing. There will only ever be more people gambling. They are gone. So I believe that there'll always be plenty of people for us to interview and talk to. But let's freshen it up and go on a few trips and see how they do it elsewhere. And you know, see, and I'm looking forward also to now, of course, one thing I think that you and I can announce is that the AGT who run on-course bookmaking, they're being moved over or moved out the way or taken over or whatever it is. And this is the ideal time for, I believe, for independent bookmakers and on-course bookmakers to look at how they can revitalise the betting ring. What other markets can be offered? How can it be more attractive, more diverse, more welcoming? Although the betting ring has an edge to it and it's exciting, does it actually put some people off? And I believe that an important piece of work that you'll be doing this year is speaking to different people in the industry, not just to bookmakers in the betting ring, and saying, well, how can the betting ring improve? How can it be more welcoming? And then I look forward to putting that proposal to the new people who are going to be running the AGT, because that's where it all started. And I think that a very, very important thing is the survival of the betting ring, because if it doesn't, how can fresh blood enter the game? It's going to be very, very difficult for somebody to become a bookmaker unless they can buy a betting shop or a couple of good pitches at the races and get going and find punters from there. So if that doesn't happen, long term, we all suffer.
I'd only been on the race course for about 5 minutes the first day I worked for a bookmaker, and I was told by a grizzly old clerk that the game's gone. Well, he was wrong then, and I'm hoping he's wrong for another 30 odd years at least. See us out.
I have never said the game's gone. I will never, ever say that. When I say that, I hope I've retired gracefully by then. Not many people do.
Excellent. Well, if anybody's not seen the Betting People series, they're all on the Star Sports website or YouTube, 200 odd of them, full of wisdom.
There we go. And thank you very much to Andy McCarron. And as usual, congratulations to him and Rasmus on everything that they've achieved. And thank you also, because these functions are great places for new people to meet up. And, we're all very grateful to you. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks for inviting us, Andy.